It's HPR1, and I'm Dave Lawrence. Today, our guest is a guitarist known for his work with Miles Davis, the Mahavishnu Orchestra, Shakti, and a number of other musical adventures. Black Light, his latest album. We've been featuring it all week on our calendar for Music Bed. It's John McLaughlin and his Fourth Dimension Band, their latest record, filled with inventive guitar playing as well as tributes to mentors, friends, recently passed on colleagues. It's a great treat to welcome to the airwaves of Hawaii Public Radio, John McLaughlin. Hey, John.
You're on Hawaii Public Radio.
Yep, Honolulu and Hawaii Public Radio, correct?
I've always been a fan of National Public Radio, the best radio in America.
What a nice thing to hear. What a nice thing to hear.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to flatter you or anything. It's truth. I had a very dear friend. In the 70s, he had his own program, a guy called Lex Hickson, In the Spirit, in New York Public Radio.
Wow.
It was wonderful. Yeah, it was really wonderful. Anyway, thanks for the opportunity to speak to you, Dave.
It's great to get to talk to you, John, and it really does mean a lot to finally get to connect with you.
Well, it's the other way around for me, because there's the opportunity to speak about what I do and for people to listen, because people are curious what goes on in the mind of musicians, you know, what they do, how they do, and what do they think about, and you know, and that's really a very important part of my job, is to be able to have the opportunity to speak about that, and so I really do appreciate it. Actually, I thinking about you in Hawaii. My goodness, how many years ago since I was in Hawaii? It's really too well. What a beautiful place you live in. Amazing.
I wondered if you had connections here, just knowing that it's a good place to get some spiritual recovery. It's a good place just to experience. How long has it been since you've been here?
Oh, man. Oh, gee. 1980s, so it's got to be like 30 years, 25 years. A long time. We can get spiritual nourishment everywhere, fortunately, Dave. That's the good thing about the planet. It's all good.
And that is one of the great things. You know, sometimes people divide each other up so much in terms of where they are and who they are. And I lost my mom, my grandmother in 2013, real like back to back. And it kind of just gave me a whole new view on things. I don't think I've formulated it yet, but it's opened my eyes so much more to spirituality.
Well, I've been there, of course, because I think I'm much older than you, but and last year was particularly brutal for me because we lost Paco de Lucia in February, and we lost Mandolin Srinivas. I'm sure you know Paco de Lucia. Mandolin Srinivas was the mandolin player in the group Shakti.
Yep.
Who we'd been 14 years together, and he was only 45 when he died. So that was last year was difficult. But, you know, we're still here.
We are.
Even though I'm still hanging in there.
Yeah. The Black Light album, it's got a very modern yet psychedelic piece of art on the cover, and it has a sort of psychedelic name, too. What inspired the name and the artwork, John?
I'm an old hippie, Dave. I'm an old hippie. That's part of my life. I mean, we could do with some hippie values in this world, I'm telling you. But that's part of me. That's part of my history. And I think I'm like a lot of other artists. I know I have a number of painters who are friends, and they share this sense of sometimes we go back and recapitulate where we've been, musically or artistically, whatever. You know, sometimes you take 2 steps back to go 1 step forward. And it's not really like a conscious effort. I'm not trying to, you know, make a psychedelic record or anything, because the thing is, there's a tune for Paco in there. It was kind of a homage. There's a tune for Srinivas. Another homage. They're very personal. These are very personal pieces to me. But of course, you're going to hear the influences that have impacted on me since I was a young teenager. They're all part of me. And then once we make music, they come out. It's like when you do something creative, let's say. Suppose you want to paint a picture. I mean, whatever you do will be affected by what you've experienced in your life. And so all these good experiences, whether they're multicultural or multi-musical, they're all part of my personal history. So whatever I do now is kind of a result of how I've been in the past. You know what I mean? And that comes out musically.
I do. I mean, that's a great thing that you said about the influences that have sort of tracked with you along this journey playing out today. I mean, I'm reminded of a quote that you said. You said, "I'm going to die saying, can I have one more day? Because the pleasure of discovery is just unequaled." And when I think about your journey of influence, there's a track on there. It's about a scholar or teacher who has mastered the 4 Vedic scriptures. At least that's what the name Pandit would mean. Pandit Ji made me want... Pandit.
Yeah, that's another homage, yeah. In the mid-'70s, I had the great fortune to study under Ravi Shankar, the great Ravi Shankar, who was known as Pandit Ravi Shankar. Now, in India, they use the little word G. We'll come to another piece that's got that in too. So G means it's a term of admiration, almost reverence, and affection, all tied up together. Like when I'm in India, people call me John G. They don't call me John.
Right, I read that.
because that's the way they are. And so I wouldn't call Pandit Ravi Shankar Pandit. I would call him Pandit G.
Pandit G.
Because of my affection and admiration for him. And since I was very lucky to study with him, I knew him for many, many years. So this is really, and of course now he's gone. And like you, when you start to lose people, you tend to come to terms with your own humanity and your own, you're going to go away one of these days. You're going to go back to where we all came from. And that life is just a marvelous experience. Especially for me, when you hit the biblical age, Dave, every day after that is a plus. It's a bonus. So I'm very fortunate. I'm already over that. So I thank my lucky stars and I thank the gods every day. There's another title on Blacklight called Here Come the G's. And I should just give you just a very brief description of that because it's to do with the G again. And it's to do with reference really to the Shakti group, which is, anyway, mainly Indian. And whenever we'd be on tour, Srinivas, the mandolin player, this great, he was so fantastic player. I mean, he was touring, doing classical concerts at 7 years old. This guy, unbelievable. Anyway, he and the other percussion player, Selva Ganesh, they both live in Chennai. Madras used to be called. And so the rest of the band would be arriving, and they arrive, and it's like, here come the G's. Because we would never call them their name. We just call them either Srinivas G or Selva G or just G, And so I couldn't separate Here Comes the G because they always came together. But in my heart and mind, it's a homage to Srinivas, whom I miss dearly. What a marvelous player he was.
It's kind of like saying bro. It has the same sort of affectionate quality of calling somebody bro, like brother.
Exactly. No, well, Zakir Hussain he and I, we go back to 69. He's a Muslim. We don't say G to him. We say Bhai, Zakir Bhai, which means Zakir brother. So it's just another way of saying it, but it is. My bro, as they say over here,
I love Shakti, man. Face to Face. When I was a kid, John, that was one of the songs that really, it kind of changed me as a young person. I had gotten into Mahavishnu, and then I found the Shakti records, but it was really on Natural Elements, that song, Face to Face. I can't even tell you how much that thing just opened doors for me as a young person.
Oh, wow. I'm glad. I'm really happy.
As a metalhead, as someone who grew up with hard rock and had appreciated older stuff, as I discovered that, it was sort of the gateway to so many more international things that have opened my mind. So to hear that one of my favorite songs on Blacklight has that connection to Shakti is nice.
Oh yeah, thank you. I'm really, it makes it all worthwhile, Dave.
It means a lot. What were you going to say?
Yeah, no, it's like the thing is well, the lamentable situation of the record industry. I mean, there isn't any, basically, and people are asking me, so why are you making records, and I'll answer that because I spoke a moment ago about, I have some painter friends, and one in particular who's just fantastic painter, one of the greatest wildlife painters on the planet. And I bought a painting from him last year. And we were out, having breakfast, I think, together. And I asked him, I said, so, how's it going for you? You selling any paintings? He said, well, I sold one. Yours. Because, well, what's he going to do? Stop painting? And what am I going to do? Stop making records? That's the way I paint. I know people are like doing singles and streaming and Spotifying but I'm old school, Dave. I'm going to keep making records. There's no money in making records. But if we can just recoup what it costs, then I'm a happy guy. I mean, what else am I going to do? That's the only thing I know how to do. It's
a strange time. We had Roger McGuinn of the Byrds in.
Yeah.
We were talking about the same topic about releasing stuff, and I told him it's weird because I never thought the day would come I wouldn't buy records, that I'd just go to this thing, YouTube. If I wanted to hear a song, I'd dial it in. And Roger said that's how he himself finds music. So I think I get what you mean. That analogy with the painter really is... that resonates, because it's like, what are you going to do? You make records, you like to produce music, whether or not the mechanism has changed for people buying it. That's its own thing. Yeah. It's an expressive mechanism for you.
It's the way I live.
Right.
And that's what I've been doing my whole life. And so it's like my friend, he paints a painting, and people might like it, and maybe he won't sell any, and some people will like this record and some people won't, but it's got nothing to do with that. It's like when I have new music coming into me, because this record is at least between 18 months and 2 years in the making, basically, which is a long time, because two reasons. One, I'm not able to sit down and write music, Dave. It just doesn't work like that for me. So I have to wait for the music to come. And eventually it comes. Generally, after a year, 18 months, I start to hear some new music, and I start to write it down, and I say, oh, maybe I'll get enough to make a record. But this record is particular, because you mentioned this kind of psychedelic element at the opening of our conversation. And that's, psychedelia, this was a very important part of my life. In a way, everybody was tripping on acid in the 60s, me included. But, of course, there's an extremely negative attitude towards drugs. And drugs, I have a very, very negative attitude towards myself. But things like magic mushrooms or peyote buttons or LSD, this is something you can't get hooked on. Of course, I get into arguments with my attitudes about this, but after 6 months or 9 months of dropping acid, I just said, okay, that's fine. Okay, I got the message, and I just started meditating and doing yoga, and here I am, like 40 years later, 50 years later, still meditating and very happy about it, because you got to be connected all the time. That's the way we really are. But society is so weird. Society, it kind of cultivates ego and separateness. You'll be happy with this. You know what I mean? And it's all bullshit, because we're all connected. We always were connected. And that's the great thing about music. Music reminds us how connected we all are to each other. It's beautiful. I know I'm speaking like a hippie, but then again, I am one.
Now you're talking, first of all, when I was a kid, I used to drop a whole bunch of acid, and I followed the dead around, and so there are a lot of things that we see eye to eye on. But there's so many lessons that in the things you just said, John. I want to pick your mind on the meditation, because I agree with what you're saying, that there are certain things that are almost taboo topics. If you want to talk about drugs, it always has to be a certain way. You can never talk about the redeeming qualities, is what you're saying. And then at the same time, I see, this journey of spirituality. It's a kind of topic. If you bring that up with anyone, it's often taboo. But I bring it up often in my interviews because of losing my mom and my grandmom. It just changed me, and so I'm always listening. I'm seeking the most subtle message in my mind. I'm often very quiet. I just sit there and I'm listening for a faint communication from one of them or from someone else. So I'm very interested, and I try to meditate. Sometimes it's very difficult. It doesn't always work. So honing in on you doing this for a life, if you can describe, if you don't mind, as much as you're comfortable describing, your routine of meditation, how you go about it, and almost in a sort of instructional way, share with us a way to, if you don't mind.
Well, no, I don't mind at all. I'm happy to. The thing is, there are basically two principal aspects to my kind of personality. One is to do with bhakti, the bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga is the yoga of love and devotion. And I spent a couple of years with the Sufis. And the Sufism is the, how shall I say, the mystical aspect of Islam that is just so beautiful and tolerant and marvelous. And it's just so a shame that the world today doesn't see. They think Islam and they think, Al-Qaeda and Al-Shabaab and these idiotic, violent morons who just love to hate. But Islam has also got a marvelous bhakti side to it, a loving side to it, where they speak about the beloved. The beloved is the one. And this really appeals to me. And so, and then I subsequently studied 5 years with my Guruji, Sri Chinmoy, between the years of 70 and 75. And this was specifically Bhakti Yoga, where you cultivate the heart, you cultivate the sense of love and the sense of unity that you have with everybody around you, all the beings in the universe. We're all connected. The thing is are you aware of it? Can you experience that oneness? And this, the whole point of meditation is to have the experience, to have the experience of the beloved inside, or the unity that we all have, that we've always had, that we cannot not have. It's just that we're so wrapped up in our little, we're infatuated with our little minds and little personalities and little worlds that we forget about who we really are and what we really are. The big one that's inside of us all. Okay, that's the bhakti side. Then there's another side that has been very important to me in the past, I would say, 30 years, and this is the aspect of Zen Buddhism. And don't confuse it with being a religion. Anyway, Buddhism is not a religion. It's a way. Buddhism is a way of enlightenment, whichever aspect of Buddhism you take. But the Zen Buddhists attract me particularly because of the marvelous economy, of the marvelous simplicity of revealing what is and who we really are. So, I could say, one could say, that the aspect of Zen Buddhism deals more with the intellect, but not at the expense of the heart. But the bhakti side is truly the development and the cultivation of the profound sentiment. I guess that's really how I see it.
Man, you're just so deep, John.
Does that make sense to you?
I mean, I'm gonna have to review it because that's the good thing about recording things, brother. I guess, okay, but let's just translate that down. Let's bring that down to on a daily basis. I mean, I can tell a lot of it has to do with, first of all, it sounds like your mindset and your attitude. And from there, because that is a challenging place, to try to get to, for any of us to get to a better attitude that we keep all the time. What is the routine that you use daily in terms of the meditation?
Well, I get up and I swim immediately. Then I go to meditate. But you don't know, you have no control out of what kind of mood you be in. Sometimes you wake up in a more introvert mood. Sometimes you wake up in a more jolly mood. Mm-hmm. And so I sit down to meditate. I don't force anything. I don't do anything. I don't want to do anything in meditation. I just want to be. And so I will allow what my particular mood is to flow, whether it's towards this kind of bhakti orientation, where I can contemplate the beloved who is all of us, who is all of me, is all of you, it's all of everyone, and the beloved's always been there. The beloved cannot be anywhere else except deep inside of us. Or I will go more not in the intellectual way, because that's the wrong word, but in the Zen what I'll consider just perhaps one phrase, one Zen phrase, like the robin's egg is blue, and just let that go through me and not try to grab a hold of anything. Yeah, in meditation, you gotta enjoy it. I mean, it's got to be part of you, part of an enjoyable life. I mean, basically, my advice is don't meditate to get something. Don't try to grab anything in meditation because there's nothing to grab a hold of. You know what I mean? There's nothing there. You just got to let it all be. Whatever's going through your mind, just let it flow and just look, whatever thoughts, they just flow through you and you don't grab a hold of them. You don't attach to a particular thought or a particular feeling. You just see it for what it is and let it be. And that's the way it is. And then at some point, what happens in meditation, for me personally, is that I will move to a different level of awareness. But this is something I don't control. I don't have control of that. It will happen to you or it will not happen to you. It's not something you can... It's like playing music. I cannot go on stage and say, I'm going to be inspired now. It is going to happen or it's not. And I'm just going to be there. That's all. And that's all I can ask for is just to be there and be aware of what the miracle of existence truly is. And that's, more than that, we cannot ask for more. I don't think so.
Just the name of this band, Fourth Dimension, and what you're talking about there. I mean, I guess I would also then ask you, you're not looking for something there. You're not searching for something, and you're celebrating this existence. The people that you have gone on, the people you've more recently lost, others who have had a profound impact on you, like, I want to feel like my mom is still here and with me.
Well, but she'll always be with you. My mom's always with me. She left many years ago. But how can she live? She lives in my heart forever. I mean, how can she ever leave you?
Do you feel you can communicate that she is an entity you can continue to communicate with?
No, I don't see her like that. I don't see her as an entity. I see a part of the whole. But in my mind and in my heart, she's my mom, and I can see her face. I can see a lovely face, and that's all I need. And my heart is happy with that. I can see her, and I can hear her voice in my head, and really that's enough for me. I don't want to try to say anything to her. I have nothing to say, really. My heart is just a happy heart when I think of her. And I think that's about as much as I can do. I don't want to try to bring her to a spirit or an individual kind of ghost that I can communicate with. I don't really see anything like that. But it's like someone like Miles Davis, who has such a powerful impact on my life. I have a specific photograph that I have near me when I work, when I practice. And it's a photograph. He's not got his trumpet. He's got a paintbrush in his hand. Because he was painting. He was painting when he was there. He's got these dungarees, these funky dungarees, all like paint, but he's got this look. He's looking at the camera, but he's looking at me. It's a really special photograph. And he's just saying, you have it together? You know what I mean? And that's it. That's all I need. I have a photo of my mom, and she just smiles, and that's it. So, but, probably because you lost your mom just recently, I lost my mom a long time ago. I was the youngest of 5 kids. She was already 45 when she had me. I mean, that's old for a mom.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. I didn't realize the age difference. When did she pass, John?
Oh, man. I mean, gee. Well, I'm 73 now, so I must have been about 40-something. So that's over 30 years ago.
God bless her.
It's so long ago, I don't even remember the year.
That's amazing.
And then I don't even remember what I did yesterday, Dave.
Well, you're a special cat, John, and you don't need to because you have a lot of reverence. I mean, God bless your mom, because I've read the stories and I've listened to the story about Beethoven's ninth, I guess it was, 5 years old. This huge impact.
Oh, you read that? Oh, man.
I mean,
that marked me forever, man. Forever.
That's so cool that basically we really we owe your mom, because in so many ways it was.
Oh, do I ever? Oh my, and my brothers too, my elder brothers, because they had a very strong impact on me. Wonderful. That's another story. But my mom, God bless her. Yes, sir. Oh, my.
Yeah, I mean, just some of those things to realize how long that was. And as I go to wrap it up with you, John, you did a real quick impersonation of him. I've listened to some of your interviews. When you talk about Miles, it's almost cooler than just about anyone when you do the little voice, and your stories are huge. Is there a favorite, maybe inspirational moment with Miles, or a moment? I mean, you're a guy he named songs after, so it's really odd.
I got a lot of different stories, but I'll tell you one quick one.
Okay.
In the 1980s, I wrote. I have two pieces for guitar and orchestra, acoustic guitar and orchestra, and in the early 80s, I wrote the first piece, and the second movement opens, and it's for Miles. It's absolutely for Miles. It's the melodies on flugelhorn, and the guitar is just playing soft chords. Okay? And it was absolutely for him. I mean, if I could have had him play it, I would have. But I did the premiere with the LA Philharmonic. And Miles had moved out to Malibu by this time, so he came to the concert. So I saw him after the concert, and he said, "I like the second movement." I like the second movement. They give me the notes, And anyway, so I sent it to him, and finally I recorded the whole piece, right? And this almost have been a couple of years later. I was in Scotland, in Glasgow, the Glasgow Jazz Festival, and he was there, and I arrived the night before just in time to see him. So after his show, I went to see him, of course. After his show, I was backstage. I had the cassette. I said, "Miles, I got the cassette for you, the piece with the orchestra." Okay, so we went back to his hotel. He got the ghetto blaster. He put the cassette in. It was a cassette in those days, and he was sitting on the bed, and he listened to the whole thing from start to finish. And at the end, he turned on to me and he said, "John, now you can die." Unbelievable. Only Miles could come up with something like that. Beautiful. Beautiful.
All the personal stories you got, man, and you're so generous with them. I admire you so much, and you've given me so much time today. I can't tell you enough how much I think highly of you, John. You're probably my favorite guitarist.
Oh, no, thank you for giving me the opportunity. I really appreciate it. I really do, because maybe I'll sell another 5 records.
And maybe you never know. You gotta have a good attitude about it, and no. I mean, if you think you gotta do it for love or forget it, right? I mean, that's it. If you're coming through Asia again, dude, keep in mind maybe there's an opportunity to do a gig here. You haven't been in a while.
I know. I would love to get there. I was talking to my wife this morning. I said, "Yeah, I'm going to talk to Hawaii tonight," and she said, "I've never been there." I said, "You got to go there one day." Anyway, we'll get there. We'll get there. And if I come there, I'm going to call you, Dave.
I hope so. We have a really nice studio. We've had Ben Vereen, all kinds of Ziggy Marley, a lot of different good grooves, Roger McGuinn, Hot Tune, a lot of people playing it, so it'd be fun to have you.
It would be great.
God bless you, John. I'm giving you a big hug. Please be safe. And your time means so much to me, and I just cannot thank you enough.
Thank you.
Means so much.
Thank you very much. I hope we meet again.
I hope we do too, John. It's a big hug to you. God bless you, John.
God bless you too, Dad. Take care of yourself.
You too. Aloha.